so much. Welcome, 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 welcome. We are Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show, Black Art and Culture interview series with amazing, amazing artists. I just want to welcome you guys to the show and just say, hey, we are back. We have not been here for a while, but I am so excited about coming back and doing these interviews. I know the last couple of times I've just starting at the beginning of the month, I was doing some archive videos, letting you guys back into letting you know that the Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show, Black Art and Culture interviews were about to happen up again. And I am so excited because the artist that we have today, I have been watching her art and just watching some of the things that she's been doing and posting and just literally have fallen in love with the work that she does. And I am so excited that she agreed to come and be on the show today and be with us and share about her work, what she does. And what I would love for you guys to do is I want you guys to share the link, share the interview, and let other people know, hey, you know what? Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show, Black Art and Culture interviews are back on the air. So if you're out there and you're tuning in, share. We love questions. We love comments. So definitely make sure that you are here to ask questions, leave a comment. This young lady is absolutely phenomenal. I just love her work. I love what she's doing as far as an artist is. And she is like, I don't know. It's just wonderful to be able to speak with somebody that has been around and at her level of art, to be able to, even for myself, for somebody like me to hear her speak and to sit under her wisdom. And so I am absolutely just loving it and looking forward to bringing you guys in to see her, talk with her, and just get to know her even better. A lot of you guys already know her and just know all about her, know her by her art, know her by her name, because she has a really, really cool name. At least I think so. I think so. And so I'm not going to sit here and chatter for a long time, because you guys will be like, we didn't come see you, Louise. And so I'm going to have her come up and I'm just going to introduce her because I think she's pretty phenomenal. And like I said, I am always looking for ways to bring different cultural interests into the Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show, Black Art and Culture. And I'm going to, and she'll kill me if I don't say her name right. So I'm going to say it right. It is Nancelia Frazier, but you guys, a lot of you all know her as SB Frazier. So I'm going to bring her up. Hello.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing?
And then did I say that right? Because I was like,
yeah, you did. Most people mess it up, but you got it just right, girl.
Thank you. Because I am terrible with names. I'm like, Nancelia Frazier.
You did it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us, because I know you have tons of things going on in your life. And I've been watching, like I said, I've been watching you work. You've been posting these absolutely amazing paintings on your storyline, on your Facebook page. And so I have just been loving it to death. And I know you said that you have quite a few followers on Instagram. So I just want to get that out of the way. If you guys want to follow her on Instagram, it's SB Frazier on Instagram. And if you want to follow her on Facebook, it's Nancelia Frazier, but it also has the SB Frazier on it as well on Facebook. So definitely follow her. I'm just going to go ahead and put that one on a ticker so you guys can see and follow her. So you'll be able to see that scrolling through and be able to follow her on her Instagram as well as on her Facebook page. So we're excited to have you, and we're just kind of going to jump in. And like I said, if you are on the line, let me know that you're out there. Send you a hi. Say, hey, what's up, Louise? Send her a hi. Let us know that you're out there and that you are in here with us for the day. So we're gonna say you're in here with us for today, and by all means, share. Okay, so we're gonna dive right in because I am just so excited about hearing about you, and you and I have talked a bit, but I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a much more to share. So let's just dive in. I know you have some things that you want to talk about, and so I just want to just start off with telling us about yourself.
Well, I was born in Chicago. I'm from the south side of Chicago. South Town, Chi-Town.
Yeah. Just Chi-Town, not that South Side stuff.
Yeah, well, I was from the south side, girlfriend. I have to say that part. But some people be upset if I don't say that.
I know.
So I grew up on the south side, right down the street from White Sox Park.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised with foster parents, and my foster mom was the first mentor that I had, really, because she was a really creative person. And I think she started it all for me because I was surrounded by what she did all the time. My mother was a milliner. She made hats. She made all of our clothes, my clothes and her clothes. I think she was a fashionista. She had gray hair, and she used to dye her hair purple and blue before people were doing all this hair color stuff. So, that was way back.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mother used to make things all the time. She used to crochet. She used to make crocheted hats. And I learned all the stuff that I know how to do by watching her. And as a child, she would always say, after you do your chores, you need to find something to do. And so she would buy me a lot of paper and crayons and markers, and I would disappear into my own little world. And I've been in that world until now.
Wow.
And drawing was is the love of my life. I mean, it started off just drawing from magazines and looking at newspaper articles and trying to copy what I saw. Mm-hmm. And I just drew all through school, through high school. And my high school art teacher was very important because she's the cause of me going to the School of the Art Institute. She went there, and several of my classmates were interested. We had a double period art class, which I loved. And we would be in there and she would be talking about what it was like. I said, go to school for art. I said, this lady's out of her mind. We're going to go to school for art, and we don't have no money to go to school for art. She said, never mind. They have scholarships and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so she had us to put together a portfolio. Mm-hmm. And so we submitted our portfolios. But what was interesting is we had an interesting situation. It was about 7 of us, Black students. And when we were applying, it was like late 60s, early 70s. And, they had to have different quotas of Black people and come into institutions like that. They didn't let us in at first. We were not accepted. And the Student Black Union at the Art Institute rallied in our favor, and they made it possible for us to get in school. So,
oh wow.
So I got in school because of that. And once we got in, I said, I want to do fashion design. I thought, I said, I was interested in drawing clothes. And I thought that meant you had to be a fashion designer to draw clothes. And I realized that I took it for 1 year and it was very good. I learned how to make things, but I really found out that I wanted to draw the clothes. I didn't want to make the clothes. And so I took fashion design for a year. And then after that, my last 3 years at the School of the Art Institute, I majored in drawing all day. I had drawing class, I had figure drawing. And that was a wonderful thing because I believe as an artist, if you have a strong foundation in how to draw and different skills and stuff, then you can do anything. You're not limited. And so I took drawing for a long time. And then I had a strange assignment from a drawing teacher. She gave me an assignment. She says, I know you like to draw on paper, but I want you to consider drawing on a surface you've never drawn on before. And so I said, what could that possibly be, you know? And so I looked under our house and we had all this plywood under the house. And so I picked up a piece of plywood and I got a quill pen and some just black ink. And I drew a female figure on the wood.
Okay.
And so I took it to class and they were trying to argue with me saying, that's not a drawing. It's a drawing. It's not on paper. She said, you don't have to draw on paper. And this is my drawing. And they were trying to get into a big dispute,
A
you know.
big discussion on what it's like. I did what you said.
I did what she said, and here it is. And from that,
so you started out, one of the things that, because I know I hear a lot of artists talk about how drawing is the foundation.
It is.
So I do have a few of your drawings and would love for you to just chat about that a little bit. And then we'll show some of your wood pieces and have you talk, because since you mentioned the drawings, I want to go ahead and bring some of those up. And these were particular drawings. So perhaps you could share about that as well.
Okay, well, this is in a series that I did in 2015 after the murder of Freddie Gray in Baltimore. I wanted to do a series of Black Lives Matter pieces from my perspective as a Black person, not from what other people said I should feel, but how I felt being a Black person, seeing this stuff happen again. Because I've been living for a while and we've been going through this for a very long time. But I wanted to do a series of drawings. And these are all graphite on paper. And the style that I like to draw in, I was inspired by Charles White's drawings, his wonderful drawings, and the dignity that he showed Black people, the way he drew people. I wanted to have that same kind of skill in my drawings. And these drawings are talking about what it feels like living in this country with all this stuff going on. You're tired of seeing it going on and it looks like it's never going to end. And a lot of the pieces, a couple of pieces, the titles is I Need an Angel. And not only do we need an angel, we have to be our own angel in a lot of cases. And so I did a series of drawings about that. And that's what those pencil drawings are.
Okay.
It's about 8 of them in the series.
And you were so you were an illustrator? Was that your degree in illustration?
Well, I got a degree in drawing, basically. And I took figure drawing most of the time. And when I was going to school, they only had one fashion illustration course. And since they had that one course, I took it twice. And I learned, I loved it so much. I learned a lot about drawing. And I also got inspired by another artist other than Charles White. And his name was Antonio Lopez.
Okay.
And he was a wonderful illustrator who used to do drawings for Bloomingdale's and all that stuff in the late 60s, 70s. And his drawings were so powerful. And what I liked about him was he drew from life. Like I had been drawing I had a lot of figure drawing classes from live models. And I liked the fact that he drew from life too. And I said, this is the right foundation. His drawings had so much life in them and style. And I wanted to have that look in my work. I wanted to exude that kind of power. And so those two people really inspired me to draw the way that I do. So my drawing is a combination of figure drawing and fashion illustration. So my work is kind of stylized. It's not really typical figure drawing.
Right. That's what I was going to say. It's very stylized. So tell me a little bit, because you went to the Art Institute during a time where there was still some, black, white, still some of that revolutionary, those kind of things going on. What was it like going to the Art Institute during this time?
Well, it was a real challenge because I was lucky, though, because of the Black Student Union. I became a member of that. And also during that time, I became a member of a group called BAG, Black Artists Guild.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting how I became a member of that. I used to spend all my time drawing during lunchtime in the cafeteria, and a couple of artists from the guild came up to me and said, "Oh, we like what you're doing. And you draw like us, and would you like to be a part of our guild?" And I said, "Yeah, they were Black people, and white folks. I wasn't drawing what they were drawing, and they didn't quite understand. And they always wanted to question you. Why
Mm-hmm.
do you draw this?" And I'm saying, I'm drawing from my life experience, just like you're drawing from your life experience. And my experience is just as valid as yours. And you get to the
Mm-hmm.
point where you get tired of talking to people like that. You just say, look, drawing is drawing, and you have to draw from your own life experience. But I didn't have to explain that to the members of BAG or the Black Student Union. And in BAG, our logo was the watermelon. And
Okay.
we use that symbol to redefine a negative stereotype. So each person found their own way of representing the watermelon. So I still use the watermelon in a lot of my work. You will see that
Mm-hmm.
drawing of a watermelon, replicated in my work.
Okay.
And in my work, it represents life.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my work is female. I try to represent the woman as goddess and life giver, and the watermelon is a life giving thing. Inside it are the seeds, and it's red, black, and green. Hallelujah, everybody.
I love that. I love that. When you told me that, I was like, I never thought about that. When
People
it
don't
came
be
to the
thinking about
watermelon,
this.
it's red, black, and green.
It's red,
So,
black, and green. And it is a life giving substance that continues life. And
right.
so I use it a lot in my work. And so being in BAG and being a part of the Black Students Union was my foundation and enabled me to feel good about what I was doing and develop my own way of speaking in art.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a white institution. Yes, I learned how to draw white models. I learned how to draw a whole lot of stuff. And that's all good because you need to be versatile if you're going to be an artist out here. If you're
Right.
trying to get a job, you got to draw white people, you got to draw shoes, you got to draw all kind of stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to draw, but I thought, if I am going to be a professional artist, I want
Mm-hmm.
to draw Black people and I want to represent us in our own beauty and style.
Mm-hmm.
And not just about all the struggles that we have gone through. Yes, we have gone through many struggles, but
Right.
we are some glamorous, beautiful people, and we have brought a lot to culture.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that's happening in the world, they take it from us, although they don't always like to give us credit. But I like to,
It was being exposed.
yes, but I like to celebrate the beauty
Mm-hmm.
of being Black, and especially a Black woman, because in our society, we only celebrate one ethnic group in this country as
Mm-hmm.
being beautiful. And, they just throw us in on the side.
Right. It's like we're hidden in the background. It's like
Yeah,
they're beautiful, but they're it's in the background. It's like you have a movie and there's one.
yeah.
Something and
You
there's
know,
one. So I totally now. So when you were going through, did they have any Black models during that time? Because I
they
know when
did.
I did fashion illustration, all of our models were just white.
They had two models. It was a female model. Her name was Tanya. She was gorgeous. And then they had a Black male model. I forget his name, but he was a very muscular, very handsome Black man.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Black Student Union, we would always request the Black models as much as possible because,
Right.
if we didn't request them, they didn't work as much as the white models because they were
Mm-hmm.
always having the white models. And
Right.
so, we would always say, we would like to have Tanya
Mm-hmm.
model for us to, that day.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, being Black in this country is not an easy thing, and it's a tiresome thing. And we live a duality of life. We live in two worlds simultaneously. And it gets tiresome. It does.
It has its toll. It takes its toll. I'll put it
It
that way.
takes its toll. I mean, you have to constantly be on your toes.
And it is because it's so true, because you live in one world and then you live in another world, and because I'm in Fort Collins, and so there's just something so relaxing to be around your own culture and be around your own people, because you have such a like frame of mind. And a lot of times people don't understand that. They don't understand that there is a difference. And when you are, it is almost as if, it's like, okay, I'm living in this world and then I'm living in that world at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. Yeah. So I
And
totally understand.
I learned about African American artists from my people.
Mm-hmm.
The School of the Art Institute would talk about European artists. Very seldom did they talk about anybody other than European artists. And we
Mm-hmm.
knew that art was being made in every part of the world, but the focus was on European art. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was around my fellow Black students, I learned about people like Charles White.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about Faith Ringgold. I learned about folks who drew what I wanted to draw.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I want to be a part of that.
Right.
I want to celebrate that. Just my part of life is just as valid as anyone else's. I'm drawn from my life experience, and I want to celebrate the beauty of my own people.
Mm-hmm. So you've been around, and you've actually been a part of several different eras of art and Black art. So when do you feel that Black art became more mainstream?
Oh, I would think kind of around the time when I was getting interested because
Uh-huh.
Bag and during that time, Afro Cobra and all of that stuff was happening.
Uh-huh.
And they were promoting a different celebration of being Black.
Uh-huh.
And I think it started around the 60s, 70s, and it has expanded over time. I like what's going on now. I like to see the Amy Sherrills and the Lisa Butlers and all that stuff. I like that. I
Uh-huh.
like what's going on. And I just want to be a part of that too.
Well, I think you are a part of it. It's like when I look at your work, and I love my Facebook page because I have so many artists on there. Because I tell people, it's almost like I stumbled into Black artists, into the Black art world.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like I stumbled into it by accident, because I always felt like I was kicked out. And because I would get people, I've been doing shows for a number of years, and I would get people in my booth, and the first thing they'd ask me is, "Oh, do you do Black art?" And I would look at myself, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
well,
What does that
I'm
mean?
Black. Right, exactly. And so I would always, and so that was the whole thing. It's like I always felt like, can I get in? Let me let me in. And I don't know if you know Nicole. Nicole and I were really good friends. And so she would let me come and help her with shows, and she'd show some of my work at Nicole's gallery in Chicago. And she was the one that actually introduced me to my first Black art show, because she was like, come and do this show, Louise. And so I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. I was in a group show called Crystals and Sapphires at,
Hmm.
uh, at her space.
Hmm.
And I did a lot of things at South Side Community Arts Center and Museum of Science and Industry and stuff like
Hmm.
that through BAG. We did a
Hmm.
lot of exhibiting and stuff like that.
Right.
And we were around with a lot of the Black jazz ensembles, AACM
Mm.
ensemble, art ensemble, and all of that. So I was exposed to all of that stuff. And BAG was mentored by a wonderful textile artist named Robert Page,
Mhm, mhm,
who did a line of textile designs for Sears called Dakabar. And he mentored us in his own studio We learned how to be professional artists under his tutelage. He taught us, he encouraged us, and his studio was right next to Operation Push, Jesse
Oh, wow.
Jackson. So we're in the middle of all of this. And at that time, Black was beautiful. Everybody was wearing big afros. Everybody was getting back into the motherland. What else was you going to be but be proud of who you were? I was fortunate to be coming up in art during that time, and I think it had a lot to do with making me feel strong in who I am.
Right. And that's what I see in your work. I love the colors and the female images. The imagery is very powerful in your work, and that's one of the things I love about your pieces is just these very strong female images. And I wanted to, because you were talking about your wood, and I wanted to kind of put some of your wood pieces up and just let you talk about them a little bit, because you said like right after you got into the you did illustration, and you got into the wood because of your teacher, saying, hey, come and draw on something different. And then it took you into a whole nother direction with your
Yeah,
artwork.
it evolved. It's a process that I've developed over, Jesus, it's almost 40 years now. I call it wood graphics. And it started off with just using black ink on wood. It evolved into adding brown with the black ink. And then eventually I learned how to carve. I took a relief wood carving class, and I learned how to use chisels and mallet and all of that stuff. And then I went to the Field Museum, and I looked at a lot of Aboriginal art and Native American wood carvings and stuff like that. And I looked at how they drew on wood and how they use different patterns and textures. But the difference in my wood is the wood grain is the grain I create. It is not the natural grain of the wood. So I create my own designs. And I think fashion illustration had a lot to do with the way things are looking, because of the patterns and the textures that I learned, and how to do fashion illustration is a part of the woodworking. So it's all combined. And so the woodworking evolved into learning how to use power tools, because I wanted to cut things out. I didn't want everything just to be in a rectangular shape. I wanted to make screens and stuff like that. You teach yourself as you go. And I wanted instant gratification. I didn't always want to be waiting for somebody to cut the wood for me. So I learned how to use power tools and cut wood out so that I could release the figure from the wood and make screens and wall hangings and things like that. And then talking to other artists, I got inspired to use other mixed medium like mosaic tiles and glass beads. And I mean, you learn as you go. And you teach yourself how to do things. Everything I know how to do pretty much, even though I was taught in a institution, I still had to do it myself.
Right.
And so the wood graphics, I have a copyright on that process. And so the work that I'm doing now, I've done the wood for so long, I'm getting to the point where I said, I need to transition from the wood. You know how the universe tell you, okay, you've done that. It's time to do something else. And so the same technique that I did on the wood, I'm doing on canvas. So the pieces that you see that I post on Facebook are all on canvas. They're wall hangings and they're paintings. And the intricate black line that you see in that comes from the woodwork stuff.
Okay, and then I have this one, because this reminds me so much of when I was talking to you. It reminds me so much of your woodwork.
Yes.
As well. So I wanted to just put two pieces up there. One is wood, and one is what you're actually doing right now in the painting stage.
Yeah, that's a 4-panel screen, Adam and Eve, and that has a lot of wood and mosaic tiles to that piece. And the colors, when I got into doing the colors, I used colored inks instead of wood stains. And I wanted to use colored inks so that I could still see the wood through
Mm,
through the color. I didn't want to cover it completely. I wanted to be able to see that. And I also liked stained glass. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if I could have a stained glass effect on the wood? And the colored inks gave me that.
okay, okay. That's really, yeah, that's pretty neat to use the colored inks in
Yeah,
that.
and these paintings that I'm doing now, it's an acrylic ink. And the colors, I love them because they're so vibrant and bright. And they stand out like stained glass and stuff like that. And I like to use very vivid color.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I could see that in the. I love your bright colors, and it's like you could totally see how beautiful they are. So now, do you use your colors straight out, or do you mix them?
Sometimes I mix them, and most of the time I like to use them straight out of the bottle because the
Mhm.
bolder the better for me.
Yeah, I do that. I when you talk, I'm like, I love using my colors straight out the bottle. I love because the pieces that are behind you, they have such a regal feel to them. I mean, it's like there's just such a royalty about the way these particular women you present these particular women. Is that on purpose?
Yes. I really enjoyed looking at James Van Der Zee's photographs
Hmm.
and and the elegance of the people, the way they dressed, the way they presented themselves. I wanted to present that in my work as well. And
Mm.
so we come from royalty.
Yes.
Let's celebrate that.
Exactly. And that's what I really loved about your pieces. Every time I saw them, I was like, "Oh my gosh, these are so amazing." Seeing just cuz I love color. I love color, and then to see your pieces with these bright, bold colors and then showing it was like telling the story of the Black culture because I do feel like the Black culture is very colorful, uh,
Yes.
and it's not. We don't hold back, and we're out there. And I love the fact that it's not. You're telling the beautiful story of the Black culture. It's like you chose to go for. Okay, I'm going for something and show the beauty of it. And that's one of the things that when I'm doing the Beauty of Blackness Fine Art show is about the beauty of the culture and not like you said. It's not always. Yeah, we have a lot of pain, but it's not always about the pain because there's so much beauty in our culture.
Well, my mother, like I said, she made hats, and I used to love to go to church on Sundays and
Mhm.
see all of the ladies at church, the church lady hats.
Yeah.
And girl, those ladies be decked out. They be wearing their coats and their hats and all of that stuff. And it was a fashion show.
Yes, it
So I
was.
went to church to see the ladies and how they dressed. And
Mhm.
they were so elegant. And every Sunday they had on a different outfit. And
Mhm.
they had such a regalness about them. And, I said, I want to celebrate that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so
And
that's
that's
what I try to do.
because you have a series. I don't have it in here. That's called the Church of Lady Hats.
Oh,
And or
yes.
I
That's a
saw.
homage. That's a
Mhm.
homage to my mother. Uh,
Mhm.
I was honored to have a one-person show at Gallery CA in Baltimore, and Kirk Butts curated that show.
Mhm.
And I did a whole series of church lady hats. I did several big drawings and then some smaller drawings. But
Mhm.
that was to celebrate my mother and
Mm.
all of the women who made hats, because I used to sit around and watch her make these hats, and I used to go to the store and watch her buy all the different materials and watch how she would apply all of that stuff, and it was so exciting to me, and I wanted to celebrate that in a
Mhm.
series of drawings. My mother's no longer here, but I know she's looking down saying thank you for celebrating us, because I
I
used adored going to church just for the fashion show.
Because that's what it was. It was. I totally understand what you're saying. I was in a play called talking about church folk, in our church, and it was, and my character was Polly Peacock, and I'm sure you understand what that meant.
Mhm.
Because there was a lot of Polly Peacocks within the Black church, within the Black community, and it was absolutely phenomenal. It's beautiful to see these women in their, you know,
The
in their
finery, the
looking
finery,
absolutely. Mhm.
and they never had the same outfit. Every week it was something different. And
They were
guess what?
like socialites.
Yes. I
Socialites.
mean, and they were decked. I mean, they had their hats, they had their coats, they wore gloves when I went to church.
Yep.
They
Yep.
had their handbags, they had their shoes. I mean, it was a scene,
Mhm.
Ebony Fashion Fair at church, And so I grew up with that kind of stuff.
When they actually had on clothes, I
Yeah,
guess.
when they dressed. I mean, they made it a point to dress. And my mother made a different hat. I think she had a different hat for each Sunday. And most of the women,
Really?
girl, you can't wear the same thing every week. You got to have your thing together.
So you feel like, so actually going to church shaped some of how you shaped some of your art character,
Yes.
because of the fashions and the clothing, and also the strength of the women there. It gives
Yes.
you that, yeah.
They
So
were strong women. They all had a strong sense of self.
mhm,
They were not just housewives. They did all kinds of different things in their lives.
mhm,
My mother was a big part of the church, and she used to help do the decorations for the big church teas, make the
mhm.
decorations for the tables, and all of that kind of stuff. So I was at church on Sunday all day. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I tell people, when I tell people that, I'm like, when I turned 18, because that's when people normally like, I'm leaving church, I'm done with it. And so I tell this story to people that when I was 18, I decided I wasn't going to church anymore.
Me
So
too.
I didn't go. So that one Sunday, it lasted one Sunday, because I didn't know what people did on Sunday, because
Uh-huh.
my whole life was church. My whole Sunday was church. And so it's funny, because that was the Black culture.
Yes.
Like, you were raised in church from an early age, and all you knew on Sunday was church. And so so it's interesting how you've integrated that culture within your art.
Yeah, it was a very important part of my life. And like I said, I kind of got tired of having to go to church about the same age as you.
Right.
And I told my mother, I said, Mom, I hope you don't get mad at me,
Mhm.
but I don't think that I want to be at church all day, every Sunday. Maybe sometime. I used to like to go on Easter because that was the time to really go. Easter and Christmas.
See, those are the times I didn't want to go. It was too many people.
Well, that was the time to go because that's when the real finery came out.
Hmm.
People had been preparing for months.
Oh yes, the clothes was outstanding.
The clothes, I mean, the jewelry,
Hmm.
the nails, the gloves, the shoes, the bags. I'm telling you, girl, I was like, I want to be like this. I want to dress like this. My mother had one of those real fox stoles, which scared
Hmm.
me for a while because it was a real fox. And I said, why are you wearing a real animal? But that's what you did. But I'm telling you, it
No,
was
because it was a status. It was a status.
yes,
And so do you have within there, because I know the watermelon has symbolism. Do you include a lot of symbolism in your work when you're doing it, other than, because I know you use the watermelon as symbolism, but is there other symbolism pieces,
well,
or
I
there
use I
symbolic
use
pieces within there?
I use the ankh, which is a symbol of life, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just basically want to represent regal,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
powerful. And I look at a lot of different kind of art. I like Egyptian art. I look at Japanese art. I look at all kinds of cultural arts, and I use everything. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I love looking at fashion books. I watch all of the fashion shows. I watch movies. I watch the old movies with Betty Davis and all of those folks, the way those women used to dress.
Oh yes.
So I'm a conglomeration of a lot of stuff, and I
Mm-hmm.
look at a lot of everything, you know. And
So,
so if I see something and I like it, I'll put it in there.
so yeah, because I just love the colors and things like that. So let's talk a little bit about your fiber art. So when did that come into play? When did that come on board?
That's an interesting thing. The fiber art came from my mother who used to crochet, but all she could make was a beret. So she taught me how to do the basic chain stitch.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason I was just interested. It was very therapeutic and comfortable to sit in a chair and just figure out what I could do. So for a long time I made a lot of berets. But over time, I learned how to make scarves and I learned how to make different shapes of crocheted hats. And the way I crochet is not the typical way that people crochet. I kind of created my own way of using the needle and my fingers. And a lot of people say that's not how you do it, but I say it works for me. And so I do what I do. And
Right.
I have come up with some very unusual things, and it's fun, and it's a way for me to make fashion,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And that's what I was looking at because I remember I know we had talked earlier and it was like, well, I don't you it was like I don't like making clothes. I loved actually drawing them. That's one of the things we had talked about. And then I
Mhm.
see your fiber art and I'm like, hey, this is making clothes. This is and
But
I
it's
just
their way of doing it, you know. It wasn't like drafting patterns.
exactly, exactly. It's like you created your own way of creating art in a sense, or fashion.
Well, you
So,
know what, Louise? You know, I've come to realize since we've been locked up for the last 2 years that everything I do is a form of drawing.
mhm,
Although the medium may change, the drawing on the paper, the drawing on the wood, and drawing with yarn, it's all drawing as far as I'm
mhm.
concerned. I draw.
Right. Yeah, because you do have, I was going to ask you about the imagery because you have some really nice imagery on the pieces that you have. It's not just these these flat sort of scarves or drapery around the body. There's actual really, really nice imagery on those.
Well, I've had the wonderful experience of learning how to do beadwork from Joy Scott. She
Hmm.
taught me how to really do beadwork, and I'm still learning, you know. But I'm one of these people. I like to experiment with a whole lot of stuff, and I just try stuff, you know. And I go to the store and I see all these different yarns and different textures. And I said, well, what happens if I put this together? I'm not afraid to do stuff. You know, I'm not afraid to make a mistake because some of my mistakes have turned out to be some of my better things.
Right.
You know, just being open to what happens, you know, not just saying it has to be a particular way.
Mhm. Right. And that's what I loved about because when I first asked you about the interview, I went on, I went through your Facebook page and then I'm like, let me cut and paste her name into into this search engine and then discovered all of this amazing stuff because you also received a fellowship
Yes,
for
go
Mhm.
to Micah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
got it. the
What
Philip
is
Morris Fellowship,
right? What exactly is MICA?
Maryland Institute College of Art.
Okay, all right. And that's why you, and that's what your scholarship was able to. And how long were you there?
Well, I was there for grad school for 2 years,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and Dr. Leslie King Hammond helped me get that money to come to school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate enough to be in a program when Grace Hardigan, a well-known abstract artist, was the director of that program, Hofberger's School of Painting.
Okay.
And, and she selected me because I painted, but I didn't paint like the typical painters, the traditional painters she had up in there. And she had uh, another woman named Phyllis who did, what did she do? She did installations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we were like really, truly African foundation art when we were doing our work. And then I think she liked us because of who we were, not afraid to be who we were.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was an interesting person. I was really happy to be in her program. She saw me, she says, "Espy, I know you like to use chisels and all of that stuff, but when you have to get ready to do your thesis show, which is next year, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have some power." And so she took me out and bought me a Dremel set and a 100-foot long extension cord. And she says, "You need power."
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how to use Dremel tools
Some
up
power.
there. I had to because you can't be chiseling. You don't
That
have
takes a long time.
you don't have time to be doing all that stuff. And I would happen to be one of the first people who had to do the thesis show, so I really had to move. And so
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to use all these powered bits and tools and things, and
Mm-hmm.
it gave me a whole nother aspect of how I could do line work in the wood. I was drawing with these little bits and saying, "Oh, you can drill this and you can make it look
Probably
lace."
thinking, where has this been all my life? Where?
I was like so amazed. And she said, "And they may not like you making all this noise." I said, but she said, "But you paid to be here just like them, so you just have to stand up for yourself." And they were really cool about it. And I tried to be respectful. I waited till late at night, when not too many people were there to work. And I learned a lot from then in grad school, being around different artists, doing a lot of different kind of stuff. It was a wonderful experience. And Grace Hardigan was such a wonderful person. And I was fortunate enough before she passed away to be in an exhibition with her at Maryland Art Place. She selected about 8 women from her program to do an exhibition with her.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
so okay. So we're gonna redirect it. That was I think it's pretty amazing. I love listening to your transition from one particular body of work to the next. But it wasn't like just I need to transition. It was a transition based on people you've met or things you've experienced. And so it's actually such an amazing, because one of the things I always tell people is if an artist isn't evolving, they're dying.
yeah,
And what I've continually see is this really, really constant thread of evolution in your work. And the pieces that I'm going to show now, I want you to share about them, because what I want, in these last, because we're getting close to an hour, is how you've evolved and where you're going now as far as an artist is concerned, because you got a lot of life left still in you. And so it's like how you've evolved and transitioned, and what direction are you going in, or what direction you feel you're going in at the right now.
right now, I'm just having fun, enjoying the process of painting and not worrying about what people think. I paint what I like. And I find that when you paint what you like and what you love, you will find an audience,
Mm-hmm.
and it's taken me back to my love of fashion illustration. And To be honest with you, I have never known where I was going next. I just went there.
What is that?
know?
It's like I just make it there, and it's like, oh, okay, this is
It
good.
happens. The universe has a way of directing you if you
Hmm.
are a vessel and you're open.
Hmm.
And I make art all the time, not just because I like it, but because I have to.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's something that is, I think that's what I'm here for,
Hmm.
you know,
So,
and,
mhm. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and I enjoy the process. And like I said, when I watch stuff like Project Runway, that
Hmm.
inspires me. I look at those young people and the stuff that they're making, and I say, okay, now what can you do? What
Hmm.
direction can you go in? I like to be around young people because they always keep you current.
Hmm.
What's going on?
Right. Right. Because
You
they're
know,
always doing something different. They're
yeah,
always, yeah. And I
it's
love going to I love going to art shows. I remember telling my husband, it's like there is so many different art styles, art mediums, things that you would have never even thought about. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's like there's so many things that inspire you
you
in the
have to put yourself in the world. You have to look at things. You have to get outside of your bubble.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's so important to be around other artists who are making art. You know, I like to see what other people are doing. And I go and see somebody's work and I go home and get all juiced up and I'm ready to do something.
Yes,
I
yes.
don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something.
Yes, yes, it is. It's almost like you get
It's
um
energy. It's
you
energy.
exactly. You get this positive energy. You get this. I was just at an art exhibit just recently. Who was it? Deborah. She
Deborah
was.
Roberts.
Yes, she was at the museum of. She was just in Denver at the Museum of Contemporary Arts, and she had posted it on her page that she was there. And I don't know how I missed it, but it was the last weekend, and I ran up there on a Sunday. I was like, I will not miss this show. Got there for the last day of that show, and I tell you, when I got home, I was so energized. I was.
It makes a difference.
It
I,
makes a difference. And it doesn't matter. One of the things I was sharing with even one of my young mentorees, I said, it doesn't matter of the art style. We don't do the same art style. I said, you still get inspired by
yes.
seeing other artists work. It doesn't mean you have to go home and copy their work. You take that energy and you create out of
Yeah.
who you are using that energy that you just got. So yeah, I totally understand that. Totally
I
understand.
recently saw a fantastic show that's still up. Uh, Ernest Shaw.
Hmm.
His work is amazing.
I'm gonna write that down so I can remember.
Yeah,
Yes,
look him
sure.
up.
I will. I will.
His work is so powerful. He's a very figurative artist,
Like a
and
right.
his work blows me away. His
Mhm.
use of color, his ability to draw. I mean, I look at his work and it just makes me love drawing because he draws so well. When you look at stuff like that, you get all juiced up and you want to go home and do something after seeing something like that. So I love looking at stuff. I love Amy Sherrill's work,
Mhm.
and I love her work because it's so unique.
I know it's like for me, and that's the one thing that I've been working on more is drawing because it's like you really, really have to focus on your drawing because that's the foundation of everything. So as we're moving into this last the last few minutes, what would you share with, say, okay, you have a young artist and because a lot of times young artists, they want to be where you are right now today, without all the work that it took you to get there. What would you share with a young artist that is on their way, they're working? What kind of nuggets would you give them as far as from someone who has been in the art world for a while?
You have to love what you do,
Hmm.
and that love will keep you when things are not going well. When people reject what you do or they don't like what you do, if you love what you do, you will keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do what you do all the time. You have to have a discipline about what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do research. If you want to be an illustrator, look at different illustrators, look at different styles, and create your own portfolio of work and go out and interview.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're at college, they have different, sometimes they have job boards. I used to get jobs on the job board
Mm-hmm.
where you could go out to different places. They're looking for somebody to do freelance work.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you learn. You
Mm-hmm.
have to put yourself out there and not be afraid. But don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Making mistakes is a part of the learning process. Of everybody wants to be perfect and everything has to be just right. Everything you do is not going to be just right.
Mm.
You know, and I work on more than one piece at a time. So when you get to a place where you're stuck and you don't quite know what to do, you put it away,
Right.
leave it alone for a while,
Mm-hmm.
work on something else, and come back to it, and you got a whole new outlook on it. You
Yeah.
know, don't be so quick to give up on something. It may take you to a place you never thought about going, and
Mm-hmm.
expose yourself to other people in the arts. Get to talk to people, you know, go to people's galleries and get to introduce yourself to them. Who knows? You might be mentored by some of these people if you show interest. You know, you got to put yourself out there.
Right. Right.
If you love what you do, that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing. Well, that thank you so much for that. Because a lot of times, you get young people and they don't quite understand the process. That's what I would say. They don't always understand the process of what it takes to get to that point. It's almost like, oh, I want it and I want it now.
Well, it don't happen like that.
That
Practice,
micro mentality.
practice, practice, practice. The more you do something, the better you get at it.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to draw by drawing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sketchbooks, keep sketchbooks, you
Right.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to draw from life. Draw your family members if you like to draw people.
I know.
They're not going to sit still, so it teach you how to do gesture drawing.
Right. And
Learn.
it's not easy.
It's not, but you got to get your technique down.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get your technique down, nobody can dispute you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
And you got,
I remember being a studio artist versus I did portraits on the street for a number of years. It's different.
yes, it is. And you have to have skill. You have
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to use different materials. And if
Mm-hmm.
you learn how to do all those different things, then you have more options.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can do different things. I never thought I would end up doing half the stuff that I'm doing. I had no idea. I just knew that I liked to draw, and that's all I had to go on.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much. This has been just absolutely amazing. I am so happy to have been able to interview you, and I'm sure there's like a billion questions still that that I have in my head, but I try not to go over an hour. I mean, sometimes I have gone over an hour, but I
Well,
just
that's long enough. That's long
I know
enough.
it's right. Yeah. But I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to interview you on the show and sharing this wealth of information that you have shared with our audience, with the young people that are out there, the young artist that's out there just getting started, and just sharing about your life. Because I'm a firm believer that understanding an artist's journey makes a world of difference in the life of those who are just starting. And so I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your artist journey and taking us through that part of your life.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So, guys, we're going to close up. And if you could hang out for a little bit, then I could chat with you a little afterwards. Okay. All right. So, Thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out with us. This has been really exciting. I know it's like me jumping back on that bicycle because I haven't been here in a while. And you guys are probably like, oh, wow, Louise is there. So tune in next week. We'll be having, we have a new person that we'll be interviewing next week. If you want to know who we're interviewing, just go to the Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show page.com. It'll have a list of who's being interviewed, all of those things, so that you guys will know who's coming up next. This is the month that I will be interviewing women, because it is Women History Month. I'm really excited about that. So definitely tune in next week, tune in next Saturday and hang out with us. And also, I want to let you guys know, oh, we got somebody. It's say, hey, Tiara, what a great interview. Tiara said this was a great interview. What a great interview. She is so inspiring and really enjoyed hearing her story and hearing her snippets of advice. She does such such beautiful work. I'm just gonna bring her back up so she can see that. That's from
Thank
Tiara.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiara, for sharing that. That was really sweet. Tiara is a good friend of mine, that I just inspiring, always comes out and helps with things that I need. So thank you so much, Tiara. So I'm going to leave you guys with some of the things that are going on. I know you guys know about the Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show. We are still accepting artists. So if you want to be one of the artists for the Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show, we are still accepting artists for that. We're actually accepting artists up until I think it's June 30th. We're accepting artists. So if you're an artist, definitely sign up for the Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show. We would love to have you. And like I said, tune in. We will be here every Saturday at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So look for the link. And if you're on the page, go ahead and click on the reminder, and then you can get the reminders as soon as they come up. The reminders will let you know that, hey, it is time for the Beauty of Blackness, the Black Art and Culture interview. So I would love to get you guys on that. Also, the Beauty of Blackness Fine Art Show will be September 1st through the 4th, and we are going to be live and in person at the Foothills Mall. This is an indoor art show and festival. I would love to have all of you guys to be a part of it. Our featured artist this year is Zudeka. Zudeka is actually pretty phenomenal. We also have a guest speaker, which is, I'm scrolling. There it is, our guest speaker, and she is phenomenal. This is Alpha. I love her, love her, love her, love her. She's a curator, and she's done some absolutely amazing things. So come out and hear her. This is in Fort Collins, and so would love to have you guys come out and hang out with us and see some of these absolutely amazing artists and these amazing speakers. And so we are going to go ahead and sign off. I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and I will leave you guys with this.